I met Tom when when I was going to this gym, and I was a personal trainer in that gym. I remember Tom used to come into my class and he would say, "Mo, I want you to beast me out." And I was wondering why. Why would someone ask to be beast out? Why, Tom?
Why?
Yeah.
I think I remember that, and in particular that was generally that was spin classes, or hot spin, wasn't it?
Yeah, spin class.
So hot spin was spin, but with the heaters on, wasn't it?
With the
And I
heaters
think
on.
in the particular class they had underfloor heating, overhead radio heating,
Yeah.
and air conditioning heating.
Yeah,
Why did I come in and ask that?
yeah.
Mental exercise and discipline, I would have said. So it's a lovely place to see how far I could push the mental side of my brain. It wasn't really a physical thing,
Yeah.
so I knew my body was capable of it, and I
Yeah.
was capable of it.
Yeah.
It's how long I can stick it and how hot can I stick it.
Wow.
And yeah, mental exercise and discipline.
See, I remember one time I was doing a spin class and then Tom walks in. We used to have the aircon on
Yeah,
and it's like, turn the aircon off.
yeah.
It's like, who's this guy?
Not everyone liked me, did they?
Yeah, who's this guy? And now it makes sense. You know, you were doing it more for like the mental challenge, you know, just to see how far you can push it.
100%.
100%. So, okay, who is Tom then?
Who was Tom?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about who Tom is, because this guy walked into the gym, turned the aircon off, turned the class up. I wanted to be tougher, and I'm like, this guy, who is this guy? Who's Tom?
Yeah, and I think when you say tough, I think I'd go to mental toughness rather than physical, maybe.
Okay.
Who am I?
So mental toughness. Okay.
I suppose quite a lot of years ago, I started my own personal development journey.
Right.
Is in, what does a better version of me look like?
Right.
What does it take to get there? What things should I be doing?
Mm-hmm.
And embarked on that journey 10 plus years ago. And I am now where I am today because of it, and I'm still on that journey, and I think
Right.
that's a forever evolution of myself,
Right.
mentally and physically.
Yeah. So you're constantly growing, constantly
Yeah,
evolving.
and you have to be careful. I got to a point where I was putting so much time and energy into
Yeah.
growing mentally
Yeah.
that it pretty just became boring and unfulfilling.
Right.
So I was spending so much time learning and no time enjoying or relaxing or recovering,
Yeah.
and that was exhausting, and I'd soon learned to
Yeah.
ease off the brakes
Right.
and also take time to enjoy life.
Okay. So do you think then we can kind of overdo it when it comes to mental challenge, mental talk, and which is something I'm going to get to. But first, I want people that are watching to understand actually what is a healthy mindset, what is a good mental state, and things like that. What would you say is a good mindset?
It's a great question. It's a very big question. It's different for everyone, because
Right.
what everyone wants from the way they think will be different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Someone might want to think about their loved ones, their career, the future, the past.
Mm-hmm.
I think to try and sum that up for you, and that is so personally specific,
Mm-hmm.
but to try and sum it up for you, a healthy mindset is probably one that serves you in a good way. So you don't
Right.
really have any massive daily challenges or battles with the thoughts that go on in your head.
Right.
And I'd probably say generally they're not negative thoughts. They are positive, but obviously at times realistic. If we get a
Right.
flat tyre, we
Yeah.
get a flat tyre.
Yeah.
We can't, you're not necessarily going to start jumping for joy because you've got a flat
Flat
tyre.
tyre, yeah,
So
yeah.
you still need
Yeah.
to be realistic,
Yeah.
but generally not having continuing scrolling negative thoughts on a daily, weekly basis,
Yeah.
you know, generally having positive thoughts and a mindset that serves you, I would consider as reasonably healthy.
I like that. I like that. So having a mindset reasonable that is helping you, that is serving you. So for example, when I was coming here today, life happens. My car decide, yeah, you know, it's not going to work. I could just completely switch off and just say, okay, my day's ruined. I can't make it. Or I can just start taking along from there. What do I do next? What do I do next? You know, the constant wanting to find a solution to problems. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and touching on that, obviously you had stuff happen today, so I was here and I had to wait. So I waited, and instead of feeling frustrated, keep looking at the clock and going, oh, where's Mo?
Right.
And, you know, I'm waiting, I'm angry, I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
I simply thought, well, actually I've got some time here on my own that I
Right.
could use
Right.
really wisely.
Wow.
I was fortunate enough to have my phone on me, and there was
Yeah.
something I wanted to look at, some research I wanted to do, and that gave me that opportunity. So
Yeah.
actually it was kind of a win for me,
Wow.
you being late.
Yeah.
But it was only because the way I chose to think
Yeah.
that it was actually a win.
Wow. So straight then and there, you've just switched your mindset into, okay, it's not going to how we plan, but I can make the most of this in a way that that works for me in a positive way.
Yeah, and any good coach or someone that knows about mindset well it's really quite pointless putting any time and effort into something you can't control. So I couldn't control you getting here. I couldn't make you quicker, I couldn't make you slower. I couldn't, you know, you had to do what you had to do and then you got here.
Yeah.
So in that moment I thought, well, what can I control? What can I have effect on? And I can control what I do and I can have effect on what I do.
Yeah.
So that's what I chose to do. Putting time and effort into something you can't control generally leads into frustration and stress. A lot of people will say the difference between what is in your control and out of your control, that is stress.
Wow. Can you say that again?
So the gap or the difference between what's in your control and out of your control, that gap equals stress.
The gap between what you can control and what you can't control is stress. I like that.
And that's
absolutely love that.
That's a big sort of answer for stress, and that certainly doesn't cover every part of stress for sure.
Yeah.
I know that, but it does apply to a lot of situations.
It's very similar to a saying that goes by, we can't control what goes on around us, but we can control how we respond to it.
Exactly.
So you have the power, you have the strength to be to respond to it in a way that, you know,
Yeah.
is...
And I think, so I'm just perhaps going to take you off on a tangent here, but it's relevant. I think when we want something to happen in our lives, or something doesn't happen or does happen, sometimes I think we fail quite badly at times to prepare for that. So say we agreed a month ago to meet here, and I never checked in with you before meeting here. I turned up and you weren't here, and I thought, oh well, this is pretty rubbish, you've not turned up. What I could have done was the week before, I could have texted you and said, Mo, all still okay for next week? You could have texted back and said, yeah. And then the day before I could have texted you and said, still good for tomorrow, weather looks okay. And then a couple of hours before, see you at whatever time. That would have been an effort, a conscious effort, to make sure that the planned event went to plan. Because I put effort into making sure that you were going to be there. And because we all, generally a lot of us now have very busy lives, because for so many reasons, modern technology, there's everything to consume us at every spare moment we have. We don't always think to put preparation into things that we can have an effect on. So if I'd have been super busy and never bothered to text you,
Yeah.
and you didn't turn up,
Yeah.
I definitely could have had an effect on that.
True. And which you've done as well. I've noticed you were, are we still okay for Saturday? Is it still 1 p.m.? It was constantly checking on me. Was that on purpose, like you're saying now?
Yeah, because reality, I might have sent you a couple of texts,
Yeah.
and that's taken me 20 seconds. Yeah. If I'm going to travel here, and say today my travel time was an hour, that's quite a lot of time.
Yeah.
You know, if it's an hour here and an hour back, that's 2
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
And then doing this, you know, another hour. So if I can make sure that's going to happen by putting a minute's worth of effort into it, is it worth it? I think so,
Of course,
yes.
I agree, 100%. So would you say there's a link with what you've just done? You were checking in, making sure everything's okay. If it's in your control, fine. If it's not in your control, then you know how to respond to it. Is there a link with that to anxiety? Because, you know, this is going to sound a bit, but there's a lot of people I've met that are anxious about everything, anxious to go outside, anxious to do something, fear of this, fear of that. Where do you think that's coming from? Because I think fear is normal, being anxious is normal, but you know, you as a mindset coach, can you break that down for us?
Great. I'll do my best.
All right.
I'm not a lover of the word anxiety. I recognise it, I know what it means. I see it for what it is. I'm not a lover of the use of the word because I think behind anxiety is actually fear. I think anxiety is a lighter word for fear.
Right.
And I think it could be more helpful at times if we just use the word fear.
Okay.
Ultimately, we're worried about what's going to happen. We're scared, worried, anxious about what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think the baseline is fear.
Right.
So the world we live in, there's some amazing things, and there's also some things that don't really help us that much and don't serve us, in my opinion. Over the last few years, we've become very information rich. Yeah. So we can get pretty much any information we want, any time of the day, from multiple different opinion sources, feeds, etc.
Right.
So we are used to now, a lot of us are used to, getting the answer we want at any one moment. Okay. If you go back somewhat in time, that never really existed, did it?
No.
Okay, so you would make a telephone call, or you would stop and talk to someone and you would ask them.
Yeah.
So the gap between your brain having the question and you getting the answer could sometimes be an hour, 2 hours, half a day, a week, a month. So the brain was quite used to waiting.
Right.
It was quite patient, it was quite used to waiting.
Right.
And as we become information rich, with modern technology, with even deliveries,
Right.
you get told your delivery down to within the hour probably.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a food delivery, it might be down to almost the minute.
Yeah.
So now we're used to getting information, really rich information, quite accurate, detailed information, and we're used to getting it really quickly.
Right. Right.
So our brain has become accustomed to that. So when we have to wait for information, that's tough on the brain now.
Right.
Because it's used to getting it really quickly.
Right.
So when we don't know what's going to happen or how something is going to pan out, again, that overlaps to that as well. Again, we start to build fear, anxiety, and we worry if we go outside, if we go to the gym, if we do this, what's going to happen? Because we want to know, because we can know so many things so quickly. When we have to wait, or we have to go and experience something which is potentially unknown, we become really thoughtful, fearful, anxious about what is going to happen. Because we can get the answers we want really quickly at the end of a laptop, a phone, whatever it may be. So I think what I've experienced and with some of my clients is that to try and help that, I think one great thing is to just have a time period without modern technology or without sources, devices where you can get answers.
Yeah. If I can just piggyback to that, I can relate to exactly what you're talking about here, because I remember I was raised in a generation where there was no smartphones. We used to have the Nokia 3310. I don't know if you remember. You know, you have like the snake. You know that game?
I do.
There was no camera on the phone.
Exactly.
There was nothing, not even color.
Exactly.
So, you know, you can't, there's no WhatsApp, nothing.
No.
So, you know, it forces you to just call someone if you want to meet them to talk properly. So you go out and you meet that person, right?
Yep.
There's no WhatsApp groups, there's no Instagram.
Yep.
You know, you're not seeing what's happening on the other side of the world.
Yep.
You're just there. You know.
So I want to extract a couple of points there.
Yeah.
And one of them is exactly that. You said you'd have to call them.
Yeah.
So when you speak to someone, I believe that it's a lot of higher content, detail, richer type of communication.
Oh, 100%.
Because when you talk to them, you can hear their voice.
Yeah.
Is it fast? Is it slow? What's the tone?
Yeah.
You'll know whether they are feeling good,
Yeah.
bad, happy, sad,
Yeah.
however they are.
Body language.
So you can respond to that really well
Yeah.
because the stream of the language is a lot more detailed. When it's over message or something similar, you can't display that. You can't display very as accurately tone of voice in a text message.
Yeah. Facial expression.
Exactly, and we're really good at humans at interpreting that and actually responding to it in, you know, milliseconds, seconds. The brain is really good at changing how we respond to people. Like, if you meet someone and I turned up and you took one look at me, say I was really sad, something really bad just happened before I met you.
Yeah.
You'd turn up and look at me, you'd take one look and you'd know. And the next thing that would come out of your mouth is probably, Tom, what's wrong?
Yeah. You can see it. You can see it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It becomes a feeling as well.
Yeah.
And coming back to your point where you said you had a Nokia
3310, 3310. No WhatsApp, no.
Was it the 5110 that had the changeable cover?
Yeah.
If you had one of them, you were pretty cool.
Oh man, I used to be like, get it out so people can see, look what I've got.
Yeah. And you just take the cover off just to show them it was changeable, wouldn't you?
I can change my cover.
Yeah, next week, have you got a new colour cover?
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. Coming back to that, you said you had no camera.
Yeah.
So, again, when you didn't used to have a camera, you would describe something to someone.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't necessarily show a picture because you didn't have one.
Yeah.
So you'd say, I went to the lake today and you should have seen it. The water was really rough.
Yeah.
It was really windy, but it was really choppy, and we kept getting spray come off the lake. Whereas if you show someone a photo, you might just go, oh yeah, we went to the lake today, here it is.
Yeah. Instant.
Okay? Again, without that camera, I could have, or probably would have, described that to you in a richer detail. Right. So you get more emotion come across. You understand more about the situation I was in.
Wow, that is powerful, man. You know, that reminds me of speaking to someone, communication skill, being able to talk to someone. Like you said, I went to the lake and the water was rough and this was happening. So I'm talking to you now, we're communicating and you're picturing that in your mind. Whilst with the photo, I can just say, there, it's here.
But now we just share pictures.
Yeah.
I tell you what, and I'm not knocking modern technology and communication, because it's doing amazing things and it has done amazing things. It is incredible. It's absolutely incredible that you can be on the other side of the world, pull something out of your pocket, press a few buttons and speak to someone on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And even through a live video. I mean, that is incredible.
That's amazing. Incredible. I think we've come a long way. Yeah.
But I am a lover of voice notes. Because the other person can listen to them where they want to.
Yeah.
you can send them when you want to,
Yeah.
and you can get over to a point some kind of emotion, etc. And
Yeah.
with a voice note rather than a video note, with a
Yeah.
voice note,
Yeah.
you have to be more descriptive really, because you haven't got pictures or video.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's the great thing about a voice
Yeah, yeah,
note.
yeah, you have to, yeah.
also describe.
Yeah. Yeah. What's happening? What does it look like?
And there's another, I think, great part to voice notes is it gives the other person time to digest that.
Wow. You know, it's really interesting, going back to what I was saying about the 3310, and then eventually you can see we're evolving. That's why I say we've come a long way. So let's go back to that and then come back to now. I've got iPhone 14 Pro Max. I can just take like cinematic videos and all these kind of things. I can hop in my phone and call someone in America, video call, we're talking. This is a big deal, isn't it? I'm up for that. I'm sure you're up for that. But it comes with some cost, doesn't it?
I think they're great. I think they're brilliant. I think we're incredibly privileged and lucky to have them and that they've been created. I think where it changes for us as humans is what we do with it. So it's what we do with the videos, what we do with the pictures, what we do with our devices, how we share them, do we just send pictures, or do we show pictures and describe them?
My fear is the instant gratification, because it's good. It's really good.
Tell me what instant gratification is for you.
Okay, let's say if I want to get fit, or look a certain way, or just be healthy, I have to get up and go for a run, or lift some weight, or put in the process that would make me get to that stage, right? Okay, nowadays people want something, they want it instant.
Why do you think they want it instantly?
Because you can now have access to seeing someone else who is doing something on the other side of the world, and you think, okay, wow, I need to do this now. So you're seeing that now.
Why do you think the expectation is instant?
That's a very good question.
Try and draw your mind back to earlier on in our conversation.
That's a very good question.
So we spoke about how we have a lot of high content information very quickly.
Yeah.
And we can get answers to most things whenever we choose.
Yeah.
So I think that's had a big part of training the brain.
Right.
That things can be very instant.
So training the brain to be able to...
I think buy certain products and services, etc., all the things that happen in the world, I think the brain has been trained to have an expectation of things very quickly or instantly.
Wow.
So so let's put it this way. If I saw a new Hoover,
Yeah.
I could probably get that Hoover in my hands with probably, under an hour.
Yeah.
If I didn't have the cash to buy it, I could probably pay for it on some instalment method. I'm close to a big city. I could drive in, get it, go home. So probably within an hour I could have that.
Yeah.
And that's probably the same for most things.
Yeah.
Most things. But when we see something that takes time, because we can get so much so quickly nowadays, when we see something that takes time, i.e. changing our physical fitness,
well-being,
tone, structure, appearance, that can take
a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when we see it, the brain goes, well, there must be a quicker way.
Yeah. I see that all the time. I need to go and get this thing done to look like this. No, there's a process.
Yes.
This is why I'm advocate for, especially young generation, every now and again, do something tough. I know it sounds crazy, but...
Okay, what's tough
Okay.
for you? Well, not what is tough. What
Right.
does the word tough mean to you?
What does the word tough means to me?
Yeah.
Maybe something uncomfortable. Should I say
like
that?
that, yeah.
Uncomfortable. So maybe you don't want to wake up at that time in the morning because the bed is comfortable.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want to start that journey because you might be anxious. I know you might not agree with that word.
Fearful.
Yeah, fearful, exactly. I'll take that. Fearful. take that first step.
Mm.
Because eventually you start to realize maybe that first step, your brain was just trying to hold you back.
Yeah.
You know, I've done Spartan race, I've done few different races, and I remember first time going for the Spartan race, I was so scared.
Yeah.
I was so scared because you have to do 30 burpees every time you fail.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to embarrass myself. That's one side of my brain telling me this.
Why were you worried about embarrassing yourself?
There was lots of guys, you know, there's
Yeah.
a lot of testosterone around. I was
Yeah.
like, there's no way I'm going to be falling behind. I'm
But
thinking,
what's under that? Why were you worried?
it was just fear. I was just scared
of
just
what?
of just them looking at me like, oh, okay, you're not what you say you are then. You're not as strong as you say you are, you know?
So you're not being approved?
Exactly that.
Okay.
And it was there at the back of my head.
That's a naturally wired thing for the human brain. We want to be part of a community and we want to be
Yeah.
approved.
So how do we get over that then? This fear of I want to do something, it's not dangerous, it's
Do
safe.
you mean the
but I'm
block
scared.
between
that barrier?
you're talking about more or less procrastination in terms of
Yeah.
wanting to do something but not doing it?
Yeah, you're really scared. You're really worried of stepping outside. You're really worried of taking that chance. You're really worried about, you know, doing something that's good for you and you
think-
know it's good for you.
I think one of the difficult parts is there's lots of stuff to do if we decide to sit and do nothing. So if we decide to stay in the zone of procrastination, so someone might get up and think, I really want to go for a run, but, you know, I don't know, and, the weather's not great and not really feeling it, and
Yeah,
there's lots of things to keep them entertained.
yeah,
They haven't just got to sit there and do nothing.
yeah,
They can watch the TV, they can stream anything,
yeah,
they can go on their phone and, you know, do an infinite amount of things.
yeah,
They can have stuff delivered to their house.
yeah,
They've probably got a reasonably stocked fridge freezer. They can cook and eat most things, depending on what they filled it with.
yeah,
So it kind of feeds procrastination very easily because there's lots of things they can do
yeah,
to fill their time
yeah,
before they have to go and do something. So I think that makes it tough to start with.
yes,
I think it makes it really tough.
yes,
Or if they really get that bored, they can video call a friend. What are you up to? Oh, not much. Well, I was thinking about going for a run.
Yeah.
Oh, were you? Yeah, so was I. So, I think sometimes there's a lack of physical action,
yeah,
and I think you can push past a lot of procrastination by taking small physical actions that increase daily, weekly, monthly, and can become big physical actions. Sometimes what can help is removing the things that feeds procrastination. So what things keep you busy while you're avoiding doing something?
Can you say that again? This is a very good part.
Remove the things that keep you busy while you're avoiding doing something.
Remove the things that keep you busy.
If you journal, keep a diary, you will notice the time you spend procrastinating, waiting to do something, that will probably be filled with similar things every time. No different to keeping a diet. I'm sure, you know, nutrition, you've worked with that before.
Yeah.
Tell someone, well, you know, I've got a problem with nutrition. Okay, we'll keep a diary, keep a food diary. So if you were to write down all the things you did when you were waiting to go and do something you wanted to go and do, and you filled that time, you'd probably notice a pattern, almost definitely. So if you can start to remove them things even, you then kind of have nothing to do. So it's then kind of like, well, I've got nothing else to do, so I might as well just go for a run.
Yeah. So you can fill up the... Do you think sometimes if we have the space, we choose, we can either do something that's beneficial for us, but because we've got so much things to do, like you said, I can go on my phone, I can scroll on Instagram, there's a lot to do that is just not benefiting you. We choose to do that. Would you call that a self-limiting belief, or is it not?
Just say the end part again for me, sorry.
Self-limiting belief.
And before that you said, because we've got all these things to do, we perceive we've got all these things to do.
Yeah, we have, let's say we all have the same 24 hours, even though like, you know, we all have different lifestyle and everything else. But let's say from 1 hour to another, Someone else would choose to go for a run. Someone else have a free time and choose to go on their phone, right? Would you call that a self-limiting belief? You're limiting yourself because you think maybe this one is not for you. This is better for you.
It's a good question. Depends of your idea of a self-limiting belief. I think it definitely falls into that category, but ultimately you can go for a run, so you've probably proven it before. So I wouldn't necessarily say I direct self-limiting belief. I think a self-limiting belief is more a belief where you think it's absolutely impossible for you to do something.
Right. Right. So, maybe someone's watching this and they might be thinking, who are these two grumpy old men talking about do hard things, do tough things? But, I think there's so much benefit to things. We're not just talking about it because we want to talk about it. There's a reason behind it, because Tom's a mindset coach. And, you've come a long way. You've got businesses. How did you even get into the mindset? If you can talk about it, I think that's a very good point, because there's a reason why you get into mindset coaching.
Yeah,
you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I just want to come back. I sort of mentally noted a point earlier in the conversation. I've got to bring it back up, and I want to.
Yeah.
It's generally around doing tough things, and like the spin class that we used to do in the heat.
Yeah.
When you start doing mentally or physically or both tough, what was the other word you used for tough earlier?
Uncomfortable things. Yeah.
That's it. Uncomfortable things. Each time you take it up a notch, the one before always seems easier.
Yes, totally agree.
And I think that's a really important thing, and not encourage anyone to push themselves too much. But when you do another rep or another mile or another something, or you think, I'll do this, and if you decide to go, well, no, actually I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do this, it's going to be a lot tougher. And then when you have to do the one below from that, how much easier that seems is unreal. And that's a really good exercise to show actually how capable you are, because what you originally thought was tough, let's just start at certain levels, okay? So you were going to go out and do a level 5 something, and you said, I'm not going to do level 5, I'm going to do level 8.
Yeah.
And you go and do level 8, and then the next week you come do level 5 and you go, level 5 is quite easy, because level 8 was tough. But originally you thought level 5 was going to be really tough.
Yes, and this could also be translated into, like, for example, doing something uncomfortable in terms of, like, maybe you were meant to go for a run, but you're advised to rest. And then you say, no, I need to go for a run, but I need to rest. The rest is harder now. Does that make sense? So get in your mind, to control your mind, to say, this is uncomfortable to rest, I'm going to rest today. Does that make sense? So uncomfortable can also be like, you see what I'm trying to say?
Uncomfortable can be anything. It doesn't have to be physically and mentally exerting.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people will find resting extremely uncomfortable.
There you go. We can't sit down for like 5, 10 or 15 minutes without doing anything. It's very uncomfortable.
It's interesting you mention this, because I've studied rest for quite a few years now, because I find rest uncomfortable.
It's a hard thing to do. If you tell someone sit down and do nothing, it's very tough.
I struggle to sit down and do nothing, I suppose, is my because I don't want to waste time. I realise time is short. Lives are short. So what I have to come to the conclusion for myself is that the brain never rests, okay?
Right.
When you're asleep, the brain's still doing loads of work. Sleep is so important. It's doing loads of work. And when you're awake, guess what? The brain's awake. So even if you were to sit there and do nothing, as some people say, you're not really doing nothing, because mentally you're still active. You don't sit here and think about nothing, do you? The brain never does that.
Something's happening.
You will be thinking about something. If you're meditating, well, that's an exercise. That is a mental exercise. I'd consider it very restful.
Yeah.
And very therapeutic and very
powerful as well.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
You're still doing something. So when you take on board that the brain never stops and never switches off,
Mm-hmm.
I think rest is looked on in a very different way.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do to, sometimes I think a better word is, what do you do to recover? So when you've exerted a lot of mental or physical energy and your energy levels are lower, what activity, and it's still an activity because your brain is doing something,
Yeah.
okay? What activity do you do to recover?
Right. What activity do you do to recover? Important point.
And that can be very important, and that'll be different for everyone, but what it can do is take a recovery time from 8 hours down to 4 hours, because you do something that is more efficient to recover or better for you to recover.
So there's a lot to unpack here, honestly. So let's say, for example, what would someone do now to better their mindset?
Yeah, so mindset, what would someone do to better their mindset? I suppose
On
coming
a
back to what was...
day-to-day basis,
yeah.
a week-to-week basis, and a month-to-month basis, what would you advise someone to keep doing to have a better mindset, to get rid of these fears, these barriers, in a safe way?
And that is so personal specific, because it depends where that person's mindset is. There are some good key things to do. So journaling is very good. There's lots of different types of journals. I have my favourite, which took me years to find, and now I found it. When you can journal, diary, record, however you choose to do it, it doesn't matter whether you do it by electronically, by paper, however you do it. What you can do, a good place to start is try and note some of your mental thoughts in a day.
Right.
An hour a day, whatever time period you choose. And note them down, and was that a helping thought? Did that serve me? Did I get up and go to work and say I got the train to work, on the way walking to the train station, did I think, oh my god, the train's going to be late, what am I going to do if the train's going to be late?
Yeah.
That's really rubbish. I'm getting angry already because I think the train might be late.
Yeah.
Those thoughts aren't really healthy or serving you. So to switch that completely, and this is quite extreme, you could look at it and go, I'm sure the train will be on time, but if it's not, I'll have some free time to do whatever I choose.
Right.
Because there's nothing I can do about the train turning up.
Yeah.
That is potentially completely out of your control.
Yeah.
But I can choose what I do if it doesn't turn up. And what I do doesn't necessarily have to be negative.
Right.
Or I don't have to stand around feeling frustrated going, where's the train, where's the train, where's the train?
Yeah.
I could potentially turn up to the train station, see if it's on time, and with a little bit of positive thinking, maybe it just is on time.
Just yesterday.
And if it's not,
Yeah.
then go, okay, I've got some spare time.
Yeah.
Perhaps because the way you've started to think, you maybe packed a book, or you've got a podcast ready, or something you want to do or enjoy.
Yeah.
Recovery. Okay?
Recovery.
So you take that time to re-energise, relax, talk to a friend, help someone do something. So then from that moment you can actually turn anger and frustration and stress into satisfaction and fulfillment.
Amazing. And some people will say, Tom, it's not that easy.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So the process.
Start somewhere.
I love that.
Start
somewhere. And what I can take away from this you just said is, when you do things like this, you actually reduce stress.
Definitely.
Because I can start panicking. The train's not here. I'm stressing.
Yeah.
Or I can just phone up where I'm going and said, I'm sorry, the train's running late. I don't know when it's. You just take away that stress, and then you now focus on the things you can control.
And again, the part of the conversation we had earlier, you can do things actively yourself to try and reduce stressful situations. So before I got to the train station, I might just check on the app or the internet to say, is the train running on time? Oh yes, it is. So I think there's maybe a better chance it's going to be there.
Yeah.
If it's not running on time, then I might choose to leave my house later. A lot of the time we don't do things to prevent stress.
Right.
We actually subconsciously, through some of our habits, we actually subconsciously do things to raise our stress levels without even knowing.
That's true. I
And
agree.
normally it comes in the form of lack of preparation. There's a lot of ways it comes, but a lot of the time it can be lack of preparation.
Talking about lack of preparation, I think we're going to have episode 2, which is going to be time management.
Yeah, that's a big
We-
subject.
Yeah. Me and Tom, we spoke about time management on a Zoom call. I think we should do episode 2 about time management. I think there's a lot to talk about, and we can just keep going, Tom. So what would you say now to someone who's watching this and is looking to invest in a mindset coach, just to help their mindset?
Definitely start by yourself if you can.
Right.
There's loads of great information everywhere, but do take into account that if you pay someone for a service and they give you good service, they will have your best interests at heart and in mind. So there's an extremely high chance that paying for a coach, a good coach, will take you a lot further, a lot quicker. Yes, it will cost you, of course, but it will take you to where you want to get to a lot quicker. And I think one of the big things it provides, because you have to meet with someone, it provides accountability. So you kind of you don't have to. You feel like you should do some things if you're paying someone to do something.
No, it's true.
If you have a mindset coach and you just turn up and you talk and you listen and you don't really do anything else, it can become quite an expensive coffee.
That's true.
Okay, if you have a mindset coach and you choose to take on board, implement, even if you just make tiny changes, generally they're not asking you to move the world, but make incremental changes, then the coach for you can become amazing value for money because you get so much more out of it.
I agree. I totally agree. I think having someone that holds you accountable takes you further very quickly.
Yeah.
'Cause sometimes, we hold ourselves back.
Yeah, definitely. If you imagine a glass of squash, so the mindset coach is the squash, the juice you pour in,
Yeah.
and you are the water.
Yeah.
If you don't pour the water in,
Yeah.
you're not going to get the quantity.
No. I agree with that. I totally agree. So where do people find your work then, if they want to get in
Where
touch?
do people, what would you like me to share with them? Because I'm on LinkedIn.
Right.
I came off social media quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm on LinkedIn.
Someone's a true mindset coach if they come off social media. You can't be dealing with all that instant gratification stuff.
And other than that, phone or email really is the best way to get hold of me.
Nice one. Well, Tom, it's a pleasure for having you,
Yes,
my man.
you too.
I'm sure we'll do
Enjoyable. as
episode
always.
2 on time management, talking about myself.
Thanks, Bo.